Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Friday, June 6th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. This is episode 551 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. I thank you, as always, for joining me. For those tuning in on YouTube, make sure to please like and subscribe. Of course, appreciate all of those tuning in on all the different audio podcast platforms. And today we've got some more New York Jets news to discuss. OTAs has come and gone. Next up is mandatory minicamp starting next week. But today I wanted to break down the outlook and the potential usage and how the breakdown of the New York Jets running back room will take place. We got some hints on that I wanted to discuss, wanted to break down Braylon Allen's role, of course, Breece Hall, and really talk about that here to open up the podcast. And then Aaron Rodgers, officially a Pittsburgh Steeler. We'll talk a little about that, dive a little bit into, sneak peek into, peel back the curtain a little bit. Jets Steelers week number 1. We'll look ahead for that one, revenge game on both sides of the aisle at the quarterback position. So we'll talk about that as well later on. As always, though, before we begin, we've got to tell you about our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at BetUS, America's favorite online sportsbook. If you want to get in on any of the sports betting action, check out BetUS and use my link in the description of this video to get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Also, our friends over at SeatGeek. If you want any of the hottest tickets in sports or entertainment, check out SeatGeek and use promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase and get yourself out to some of the hottest events on the market. And of course, our friends over at Huga House. If you want any of their awesome selection of hats, sweatshirts, t-shirts, you name it, check them out and use code BUBS for 15% off any purchase and get yourself some awesome Huga House swag. So here we go, episode 551. Thank you as always for joining me. Today I wanted to break down 2 different things. Of course, we'll start here with the running back position for the New York Jets. And then I also wanted to dive into Rodgers signing with the Pittsburgh Steelers and what that means for week number 1. The Jets running back room's kind of been a little bit of a topic of conversation this offseason, and really specifically about the Jets running back room that has been the topic of conversation has been the way that they're going to utilize it. And I think this all kind of goes back to Aaron Glenn's comments that he made back at the NFL owners meetings a couple months ago already now, about how he talked about having 3 really good running backs, not just Breece Hall, but also Braylon Allen, also throwing in Isaiah Davis's name into the mix as well. And as a matter of fact, that kind of sparked some trade talk. Some people were wondering, oh, is that, Aaron Glenn, is that the Jets kind of hinting at that they don't 100% feel they need Breece, right? We kind of saw there was some Breece trade rumors throughout the offseason, even going into the draft. You heard some of that and the Genty stuff. Of course, none of it ever happened, and the right thing to do is to keep Breece Hall. But even as the offseason has gone on now, the running back room continues to be a topic of discussion. And Albert Breer the other day, who covers the NFL, of course, for Sports Illustrated, wrote an article on just some of the latest things around the NFL. And he labeled the Jets running back room as something to watch. And he talked a little bit about it. And he discussed the role of Braylon Allen. He feels that he could play a bigger role. He feels that him and Breece Hall, that 1-2 punch, can be very lethal coming up this upcoming season. And I've talked about this before, but I wanted to dive into it again because I do think it's important for Jets fans and just in general to realize kind of where the Jets are at right now with this running back room and the potential for this group heading into this season, specifically under Tanner Engstrand. And I go back to Aaron Glenn's comments with the whole Breece Hall and in a way, not talking about the rest of the room and kind of discussing the whole running back by committee approach. That wasn't a knock on Breece Hall. That wasn't something against Breece Hall. That was just the way that things were ran in Detroit. And the Jets, with a run-first offense, could find themselves in a position to be much more balanced and lethal out of the backfield as a 1-2 punch. And you saw that with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, with Breece Hall still being the featured back and hopefully still getting more involved, should be more involved in the passing game, something that Nathaniel Hackett did not do. Even Todd Downing, just the last 2 years, they did not do enough of it. And it's pathetic because Breece Hall is very talented. And the fact that it took Nate Hackett that long to realize, he literally said it, at the end of 2023 season, he didn't realize Breece was much of a factor until that game against the Giants in week 8, which is completely ridiculous, right? But it's behind us. Now you hope Engstrand can use him properly. And I think the way you look at this Jets running back room, it's got to intrigue you a bit in terms of what the Lions brought to the table and what the Jets can bring to the table. So I want to break down some numbers. The Jets rushing offense last season was pathetic. We all know that. 1,561 yards. That was 31st in the NFL. 91.8 yards per game, 31st in the NFL. And I think this was most important. They were dead last in the NFL in attempts with 363. This was a team, especially down the stretch. It was the Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, see how fast I can get to 500 touchdown show, where it was Rodgers dropping back 40 times a game, just throwing balls downfield without a care in the world. That's what it was. It was pathetic. It was basically an AAU team ran by a 41-year-old quarterback. When you look at the Lions, on the other hand, their rushing offense, they had 2,488 yards. That was sixth in the NFL. 146.4 yards per game, sixth in the NFL. And 534 carries, third in the NFL. I think a lot of people look at the Lions and look at their passing offense, but their rushing offense is also very elite and is used a ton. And I think this is important to bring into account because when you look at the Lions' breakdown of their running back tandem, I think you got to expect that to be similar to what the Jets can bring to the table this year. Let's take a look back. 2023 for the Lions. They had 500 carries as a team. Out of those 500 carries, Jahmyr Gibbs had 182. David Montgomery had 219. Montgomery, that was 43.8%. Jahmyr Gibbs had 36.4%. Fast forward a year later to last season, Gibbs had 250 carries out of the team's 534, and David Montgomery had 185 out of the team's 534. Gibbs jumped over Montgomery to have 46.8% of the carries, while Montgomery had 34.6. So a very balanced attack. And when you look at Breece Hall, he has had nothing next to him, and he hasn't got enough carries simply. 2023 out of the Jets' 388 carries, Breece Hall had 223. The next closest was Dalvin Cook with 67. So Breece had 57.4%. Dalvin Cook had 17.2%. And then fast forward to last year, Breece had 209 of the team's 363. Braylon Allen had just 92 of the team's 363. Breece at 57.5%. Braylon Allen at 25.3%. So I think you look at this rushing attack, and it's much more balanced. And this notion, I think, is pretty common among Jets fans that it's like some notion that is Breece Hall isn't going to get as many carries, or with the whole Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis, specifically Braylon Allen factor, it feels like Breece Hall's carries are going to drop, or that. Like, that's not the case. His attempts are going to increase significantly. Jahmyr Gibbs last season had 250 carries, which was tied for 11th in the NFL. He finished 5th in yards and was tied for 1st in the NFL with his 16 rushing touchdowns. But he only had 46.8% of the carries because they ran the ball a lot more. and they utilize their number 2 a lot more. And I think you look at the Jets, where they were last year, where they are now, I think you've got to look at that percentage of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and in a way say that can hopefully be Breece Hall and Braylon Allen in terms of Breece around that 250 mark, which is about 40 more than he had last year. And then Braylon Allen around that, let's say 160, 150 mark, 170, because Fields is also going to have his carries. And I think that's important to throw into this conversation as well. Jared Goff and Justin Fields, two completely different running backs, or two completely different quarterbacks, rather. Right? They are two guys. Your Jared Goff is your typical pocket passer. Justin Fields is your run around, beat you with his legs. Not a great arm, not a great passer. While the Jets are trying to turn Fields more into that pocket passer and hoping to develop him as a passer, his legs are still going to be a big reason if he wants to have success this year. And I think you look at the breakdown, a much more balanced attack of Breece Hall, not only as a rusher, but as a passer or as a receiver. And in Braylon Allen, utilizing him smarter as well, those third down and short situations, second and short situations. The Jets did not do that last year. The Jets haven't been able to do that at all. And I think in a way, the whole dynamic, Breece, Gibbs, kind of your do-it-all guys, Allen, Montgomery, more of your downhill physical runners. I think that kind of is very similar as well. So I think when you look at this Jets running back room, and we've heard some of these things throughout the offseason, they're going to be a run-first team. Breece Hall is going to get a significant amount of carries. Braylon Allen's going to get a lot more carries. It's going to be a much more balanced attack. They're going to actually have a 1-2 punch. You hope they can legitimately use Braylon Allen in the right way in those short situations where he can just use his physicality to plow through and hopefully have success. So I wanted to touch on that here to open up today's podcast. Now, moving on here to the New York Jets and kind of peeling back the cover a little bit and taking a little bit of a way too early preview look ahead to the week 1 matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Things, of course, just got a lot more interesting. Aaron Rodgers finally made up his mind after months and months of waiting, especially from the Steelers fan perspective. He finally signed. I believe he flies into Pittsburgh today. Will be at minicamp next week. So things are really going to ramp up quickly there from a Pittsburgh perspective, because you'll have Rodgers for the couple days of mandatory minicamp. Then you'll have the 40-day off period, and then they've got to ramp up during training camp. So that'll, of course, be interesting. Rodgers finds his next home, 1-year deal. And, of course, now this makes that week 1 matchup all that more interesting and all that more headlines from it. Now you've got Aaron Rodgers against Justin Fields, Rodgers against the Jets, Fields against the Steelers. You've got Glenn against Rodgers. That, of course, is a headline in itself with the way it ended in New York. Rodgers, on the McAfee show did not speak very highly of Glenn. So that is definitely something to watch for. This was going to be the Brandon Eccles revenge game, which I found funny, right? For the longest time, Brandon Eccles was going to be the former Jet facing his old team. And now it's Aaron Rodgers, of course, which will steal the headlines over the Brandon Eccles revenge game. But look, this adds a lot to it. And I've said this many times. I think personally, if Rodgers would have made up his mind, which he never does, it takes, this is the way Rodgers does it at this point in his career. If he would have made up his mind in March when the normal free agency period happened, this would have probably been a primetime game. You'd probably be talking about, if I had to guess, a Monday night game at MetLife. With him not making up his mind, the NFL could not risk putting Jets Steelers on Monday night with either Will Howard or Mason Rudolph under center for the Steelers. But still going to be in the electric atmosphere at MetLife. Your first game with Aaron Glenn, first game with this new regime. And then, of course, going out there and trying to beat Rodgers. And just to kind of break down the Jets' path to victory or what we could potentially see. And it's way too early. It's June 6th. We haven't even gotten through mandatory minicamp. We haven't even started training camp. But seeing this officially be the matchup, seeing Aaron Rodgers knowing he will be under center for this one officially now. And I think you look at the Jets' perspective, it's going to be a crazy environment. It's going to be loud. Should be a packed house, even more so now with Rodgers signing. I could see the Jets in this game blitzing the heck out of Rodgers. I could see them early on throwing everything at him, throwing the kitchen sink at him for a couple different reasons. Number one, he's 41 years old. He's not the same player. We saw that last year. He was hobbled for most of the season. Even when he got healthy, his mobility is not what it once was, right? You throw pressure at him, get in his face, knock him down a bit. That could be a path to success for the defense. I also think another reason, too, he's signing in June. He's going to have a couple days of mandatory minicamp, and then really, he's going to have the training camp is going to be it. That's going to be his time to learn the offense, work on the offense, build chemistry with those receivers. That's going to be it. And now it is Aaron Rodgers. He has seen almost everything in his NFL career. It's not like it's some rookie that needs that needs 1 month or only has 1 month to learn the playbook. It's Rodgers. He can do it, but there's probably going to be some rust. There could be some rust where there is that chance where if you blitz him and you make his life miserable behind there and the chemistry is not great with the receivers, there's miscommunications on the offense side of the football because they're still rusty. They're still not fully clicking. Pressure, getting him, getting in his face, all of those things could lead towards success from the Jets side of things. The Sauce Gardner, DK Metcalf matchup, of course, now is much more of a headline as well. With Rodgers being back there, which is an upgrade over whoever else the Steelers would have rolled out there. Look, everybody's going to play it off as just another game. Fields has already done that, which I like that mindset, but this game definitely adds the extra juice. Not only is it Aaron Glenn in this regime's first game, and you want to get off to a quick start, but you're facing your quarterback that you didn't want back, which I agree with the decision. Go out there and beat them. This is a big game. It's an important game. You also look at the next games after that, and I know I'm looking a little bit further ahead, but then you got the Bills and then the Bucks, and it would just go such a long way, especially now with Rodgers, to win this game, get the fan base buy-in, at least for that week. Show the fan base that you truly made the right decision, and then welcome the Bills to town with a 1-0 record, as opposed to 0-1, then the Bills coming to town, losing to Rodgers, all that kind of stuff, right? And I know there's a lot of Jet fans out there that are going to have the same old Jet fan inside of them say Rodgers is going to go out there, throw for 4 touchdowns and 400 yards, and it's going to be awful. And I get that, but we'll see. I trust the defense. Go out there, win a football game. Get to 1-0. Start 1-0. Can this team start 1-0? We have not had a 1-0 start in a very long time where we actually walked away from the game feeling good. Because even the 2023 1-0 start, you knew the season was over because Rodgers tore his Achilles. Last year, 0-1. 2022, 0-1. Yeah. It's going to be a good matchup, though, because, as we say, Tomlin and his teams are always ready. And I said that even no matter who is under center for the Steelers, even if it wasn't Rodgers, Tomlin, AFC North teams, always tough. Right out of the gate, they would have been prepared. Now this adds an extra layer, of course. So it's the Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers Bowl, week number 1 at MetLife. It's going to be a zoo. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait to be out there. That's going to be great. And, start counting down the days. The Aaron Rodgers back to MetLife to face Aaron Glenn, Justin Fields, and the new look Jets. So that'll do another episode in the books. Just wanted to let you all know I'll be out here for the next couple of days. We'll be out of state. So just wanted to let you guys know that. I'll be back for mandatory mini camp, so we'll have content on that. But as for the weekend and stuff, bearing anything crazy or any breaking news, I'll be a couple days off here. So stay tuned. We'll see you on the flip side. Speaking of Rodgers going to Pittsburgh, does that mean Alan Lazard's there Is he on his way out? We'll see. That, of course, is something else to look for. So appreciate you all as always. Talk to you soon. Until next time, JETS. Jets, Jets, Jets.